Welcome back. Our first approach to improving node performance is using the built-in node cluster module. The cluster module allows you to create copies of your node process that each run your server code side by side in parallel. The way this works is when you type node server.js to start your node application, the main node process is created. Node calls this the master process. Inside of the cluster module, we have access to this function called fork. Anytime we run the fork function in our server.js file, Node takes this master process and creates a copy of it that it calls the worker process. We can call this fork function however many times we like to create many worker processes that are attached to a single master. It's these worker processes which do all of the hard work of taking in HTTP requests, processing them, and responding to them. Each worker contains all of the code required to respond to any request in our server, while the master is only responsible for coordinating the creation of these worker processes using the fork function. In this example, where the fork function has been called twice, we now have 3 node processes running. The master, which we created ourselves when we told Node to execute server.js, and then the 2 worker processes that were each created by the fork function. It will be these worker processes that accept incoming requests and share them using what's called the round-robin approach, where it sends the first request to the first worker, the next request to the second worker, and because we only have 2 processes, the third request goes back into the first worker. The workers take turns responding to requests as they come in. And while not all requests are equal, some might take 15 seconds to complete, while others might be just a few milliseconds. In the grand scheme of things, this approach is simplest to implement, and you might be surprised that this round-robin approach ends up being one of the most fair ways of distributing work between the 2 workers. Even compared to fancy approaches that try to predict priorities and assign different importance or weight to each request, round-robin is a good approach. One little caveat is that on Windows, because of how Windows manages processes, Node makes no guarantees about using the round-robin approach. Instead, to maximize performance, it leaves how to divide the tasks up between worker processes up to the Windows operating system. It could use round-robin, or it could use a slightly different approach. Alright, that's enough talking about it. Let's see the cluster module in action in the next video. I'll see you really soon.